Chapter 34-22. The Great Lane Academy, Purple City and Luyan City were actually annihilated by the Thunder Light Race. This is annihilation. Hiss, they had a blessed paradise, but it was still destroyed. Isn't this too terrifying? I heard that the elder senior brother of the Thunder Ray race has entered their paradise. This ability is terrifying. In the Thundercloud domain and the surrounding areas, all the forces and experts were shocked when they heard the news from the Great Lane Academy. All the forces were panicking. The heavenly abode of a race was their greatest trump card. That was their greatest safeguard. Even if they were suppressed, they wouldn't be annihilated. They still had a chance to make a comeback. However, once the defense of the Blessed Enclave was broken, the entire race would be wiped out. Who wouldn't panic in the face of such an enemy? He was completely panicking. This made them even more fearful of the first senior brother of the Lightning Tribe. If they provoked the other party, who could guarantee that the defense of their Blessed Enclave was stronger than that of the Great Lane Academy? Not to mention the strength of the Lightning Race's eldest senior brother. He was crowned king in one battle. The Great Lane Academy had been destroyed, Luyan City had been destroyed, and Purple City had been destroyed. Very soon, news of the destruction of the three great factions spread. The blessed lands of the three great factions had all been occupied by the Thunderlight Tribe. Thank you so much, Wang Xian. Please accept our gratitude as well. 2 days later, in the main palace of the Thunder Ray Tribe, the tribe leader and the other experts greeted Wang Xian respectfully. He bowed sincerely. Patriarch, you're too polite. Wang Xian looked at them and smiled. He raised his hand. Haha, this bow is a must. It is our Thunder Ray race's honor to have the help of such a true dragon. The clan leader chuckled. After a moment of hesitation, he continued. Wang Xian, do you have any plans for the future? I might go out to train in the future. To be honest with you, I have my own forces, and I'm not from the ancestral dragon's bloodline. Wang Xian did not hide anything and said, if the Thunder Ray race encounters any difficulties in the future, you can look for me. The clan leader and the rest were slightly taken aback. They had not expected Wang Xian to not be from the ancestral dragon lineage. All right. The group of experts from the Thunder Light race also understood that their little river couldn't contain a true dragon. It was already a great benefit for them to receive Wang Xian's promise. Furthermore, they had obtained so many treasures and blessed lands this time around, which would also increase the overall strength of the Lightning race. All right, Patriarch. I'll return to the palace first. I'll probably head out to train soon. When that time comes, I won't be greeting you. As Wang Xian spoke, he returned to his palace. His figure flickered and returned to the Dragon Palace. Greetings, Dragon King. In the Dragon Palace, Prime Minister Turtle immediately bowed to him respectfully. Today, the Dragon Palace was a little deserted. Of the nearly 2 million disciples of the Dragon Palace, more than 1 million had already left and entered the inner regions of the chaotic continent to gain experience. Now that a few years had passed, they had reached the interior. I have some resources here for them to upgrade. With a wave of his arm, Wang Xian placed the corpses he had obtained from the Great Lane Academy, Luyan City, and Purple City aside. There were a total of 14 Pinnacle Universe Venerable corpses. As for the Universe Venerable Level 9 corpses, there were more than 80 of them. There were also many Rank 8 and Rank 7 corpses. This would allow the members of the Dragon Palace to improve tremendously. Dragon King, you actually obtained so many corpses. I'll inform them to come back and upgrade their strength first. Prime Minister Turtle looked at the pile of corpses and was shocked as he replied immediately. 14 corpses should allow the heavenly formation's combat strength to break through to the Universe Lord level. Wang Xian nodded. Dragon King, Aosia and the rest have not left. They are devouring a few dragon palaces. It's a little difficult now. We can upgrade their strength to the Pinnacle Universe Venerable level first. In this way, they will be able to break through to the Universe Lord level soon. Prime Minister Turtle suggested. All right, I'll leave it to you. Wang Xian nodded. The Universe Lord level dragon palaces were not that easy to devour. However, once they devoured them, they would definitely be able to break through. How many First-Order Universe sovereigns would the Dragon Palace be able to produce was still uncertain. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded and left. Wang Xian took out the treasures he had obtained one by one. Earth and Darkness attribute, innate spiritual treasures. The rest were acquired treasures and spiritual treasures. He took out the 5 elements grindstone and the Tai Chi dragon plate, and started absorbing immediately. Time passed day by day. Half a month later, the Tai Chi dragon plate spun rapidly. The 2 divine dragons that looked like a painting let out roars. Wang Xian revealed a smile. The Tai Chi dragon plate had broken through. After the breakthrough, no attack below the Universe Lord level could break through the Tai Chi dragon plate. At the side, the 5 elements grindstone was still absorbing the earth attribute innate spiritual treasure. A heavy aura spread to the surroundings. Wang Xian placed his palm on it. The dense 5 elements power assisted the 5 elements grindstone in refining. The breakthrough was imminent. Before long, a series of roars could be heard. The 5 divine dragons on the 5 elements grindstone intertwined and exuded a terrifying aura. This aura made even Universe First-Order sovereigns tremble in fear. After the breakthrough of the 5 elements grindstone, Wang Xian's strength had increased exponentially. He had no problem fighting against 5 to 6 opponents at the same time. However, it would be more difficult if the opponents had innate spiritual treasures. The Tai Chi dragon plate and the 5 elements grindstone had both improved. This put Wang Xian in a good mood. They planned to accompany the girls for a while before heading out to look for resources. It was only after entering the chaotic continent that Wang Xian deeply felt the cheapness of time. Without the teleportation array, it would take a few years to travel from one place to another. If he were to travel further, he might have to fly for thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. A year's time seemed like a day to him. The internal area was recorded in terms of eras. An era of 100,000 years. Wang Xian accompanied the girls to rest for a few years. The disciples of the Dragon Palace rushed back after a short while to improve their strength. Subsequently, Wang Xian got Enlai to send them to the internal area to save some time. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Wang Xian arrived at the Thunderlight tribe. He walked out of the palace and looked around. Eldest senior brother. Greetings, eldest senior brother. All the disciples who saw Wang Xian stopped immediately and greeted him respectfully. The current eldest senior brother was the strongest expert in the Thunderlight tribe. He was also their savior. Wang Xian nodded at them. After a casual walk, he left through the teleportation array. Chapter 34-23. The water of the eternal river of heaven came from the heavens. It flowed into the mountains and seas. The so-called sky was not really the sky, but an incomparably huge snow mountain. The shape of this snowy mountain was very peculiar. There was a piece extending from the top of the mountain, and the length of the piece was over 1 trillion kilometers. It extended all the way to the warmer regions, where the snow melted into water and flowed down from above. This was the eternal river of heaven. Water came from the heavens. It was also known as the heavenly waterfall. The eternal heaven river was not very far from the Thunder Ray race. It would only take a little more than a month to arrive. Wang Xian had no idea where he should go to train and look for resources. Hence, he decided to come to the eternal river to see if he could find any treasures from the ancient map. The teleportation process still required a period of flight. Flying in the sky, one could occasionally hear roars. Wang Xian's speed had a qualitative improvement compared to before. As he flew, he could tear apart the sky above the chaotic continent. A First-Order Universe ruler's combat strength was considered a peak expert in the Great Desolate Continent. In less than a month, Wang Xian arrived at the nearest city to the Tianheng River. Eternal Sky City. The Eternal Sky City was not close to the Eternal Sky River. Wang Xian would need a week to fly there. Currently, no faction dared to set up their base near the Eternal River of Heaven, because a terrifying giant star beast was hiding there. A large number of people living there might attract the attention of the star behemoth. Therefore, the nearest Tianheng city was also quite far away. However, the strength of the Eternal Heaven City was not weak. The Eternal Sky City's city lord had the combat strength of a First-Order Universe sovereign, and was considered a large city. Usually, experts who entered the Eternal Heaven River would use the teleportation array to reach here. Wang Xian walked out of the teleportation formation and arrived at the city. He scanned the surroundings. The city was huge. The area of the mountains and rivers was even bigger than the entire Great Thunderclap Academy. There were many people in the city. There were residents and some experts who rushed over from the teleportation formation. It's quite prosperous. Wang Xian scanned the surroundings and revealed a smile. He walked on the road. There were many humans and beasts around him, but it was very peaceful. The city was a little quieter, and there were all kinds of items for sale on both sides of the street. In this place, there was less killing intent and more tranquility. Wang Xian wasn't in a hurry. He headed straight for the Heaven Everlasting River and wandered around the area. This is the 100 Cities Alliance? After walking for more than 2 hours, Wang Xian saw a huge building. There were many people going in and out of the building. With a curious look on his face, he walked inside. What entered his eyes was a huge screen with all sorts of quests on it. At the very top was the 100 City Alliance quest panel. The top missions were to kill a Third-Order Universe Sovereign Realm Desolate Beast and assassinate the leader of a certain force. This is quite interesting. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he turned on his computer to check on the 100 Cities Alliance. Very strong. Seeing this 100 Cities Alliance, he was slightly surprised. The so-called 100 Cities Alliance, as its name suggested, was an alliance. The 100 Cities Alliance was not just 100 cities, but 108 cities in one alliance. Firstly, the strength of the city required a universe ruler-level expert to oversee it. Secondly, the city was completely neutral and did not participate in anything. The 100 Cities Alliance had formed an alliance for one main purpose, and that was that no one was allowed to fight within the cities of the 100 Cities Alliance. Otherwise, they would be hunted down by the 100 Cities Alliance, an alliance with hundreds of universe ruler-level powerhouses who would dare to provoke them. The strength of the 100 Cities Alliance was also very strong within the chaotic continent. However, because they were neutral, the other races were not worried. Moreover, the 100 Cities Alliance was an alliance based on rules, so they were not too feared. If a force were to clash with a city of the 100 Cities Alliance, they could declare a challenge, and the experts of the 100 Cities Alliance would make a statement from a fair point of view. There was a high chance that they would not interfere. Of course, there was a possibility that they would side with the other party. After all, they were in an alliance. The strength of the 100 Cities Alliance also gave rise to the 100 Cities Alliance's missions. Some people could set up missions within the cities, and the 100 Cities Alliance would act as a guarantor. It was similar to the Mercenary Association. Wang Xian looked around and realized that there were many missions related to the Heaven Everlasting River. For example, news about the 12th tier water lotus. News about the 9th tier water lotus. Wait. I heard that Azure Dragon Moon obtained a 6th tier water lotus. Is that true? It should be true. A 6th tier water lotus is only an acquired spiritual treasure. Although it is much more valuable than an acquired spiritual treasure, experts will occasionally obtain it. Azure Dragon Moon is a divine dragon of the ancestral dragon lineage. Tisk Tsk, I was fortunate enough to see him transform into a divine dragon. He is too strong. The pinnacle bloodline is indeed the pinnacle bloodline. Just as Wang Xian was heading out, a few figures walked in from the entrance and started discussing. Divine dragon body. Wang Xian heard their conversation and raised his eyebrows slightly. It seemed like there was a divine dragon of the ancestral dragon lineage at the Heaven Everlasting River. Wang Xian continued to listen, but did not get any more information. He shook his head and walked out. He moved and flew up into the sky. He looked in the direction of the Heaven Everlasting River and flew over. There used to be 2 powerful races living at the Heaven Everlasting River. These 2 races had the combat strength of a universe lord, and their numbers were not small. 10 billion years ago, one force was suppressed by another force, while the other force was annihilated by the astral beast. As a result, there were many grotto heavens and blessed lands there. Moreover, they were ownerless and no force dared to occupy them. These grotto heavens and blessed lands attracted many experts to cultivate in them. According to the information on the artificial intelligence, there were many experts at the Heaven Everlasting River. Some of them were there for cultivation, while others were looking for water lotus, a treasure of a water attribute cultivator. Wang Xian sped through the sky and bumped into some people from time to time. 7 days later, a humongous waterfall fell from the sky. At a glance, one could not see the end of the waterfall. It was like the water in the sky. The Heaven Everlasting River was below, and the ground was washed out by the water. The length was immeasurable. Given Wang Xian's speed, it would take him about 1 to 2 months to fly. The majestic river was filled with rising energy, just like a paradise. At the edge, there were many sailboats. However, the sailboats were not very big. There was a taboo in the Heaven Everlasting River. Intense battles were not allowed within the Heaven Everlasting River. It might attract the horrifying astral beast. Chapter 34-24. Is this the eternal river of heaven? Wang Xian looked at the river in front of him. His eyes flickered as he swept his gaze across. Different from ordinary rivers and oceans, the seawater of the eternal river of heaven was emitting a misty white mist. From afar, it looked like a celestial river. He flapped his wings and came above the river. Wang Xian could feel the warmth of the water. He dived into the river. The water temperature was comfortable, but the water of the eternal river of heaven was unusually deep. There are 2 blessed places in the eternal river of heaven. One is at the bottom of the river, and the other is on an island in the middle on the right. Wang Xian mumbled as he recalled the information about the eternal river of heaven. There were more than 2 blessed places in these 2 places. They were the territories of 2 major forces in the past. Around each territory, there were more than 10 blessed places. There were a lot of experts cultivating there. Wang Xian took out the ancient map and realized that the scenery on it had changed. The picture on the ancient map had changed, and so did the number of ships on it. In the past, there were only a dozen ships on it. Now there were hundreds of them. The surface of the water on the ancient map was still rippling, forming a picture of a water lotus. Wang Xian made a move and immediately flew up into the sky. He swept his gaze across the surrounding ships. The number of ships on the ancient map is the same. What's the use of this ancient map? He was curious as he dived to the bottom of the river with the ancient map. He dived to the bottom of the river again. He scanned the surroundings cautiously and flew forward. The depth of the river was terrifying. However, the entire river bottom was glowing with a blue luster. This was the luster of the water attribute. Cultivating the water attribute here would yield twice the results with half the effort. Wang Xian swam quickly, observing the ancient map in his hand from time to time. Time ticked by. After flying for a day, the ancient map had also changed. There were no more ships on it, only seawater and ripples. This ancient map should be a type of treasure that detects things. What is it detecting? Water lotus? Wang Xian guessed as he continued flying. However, there were no changes to the ancient map for the next 10 days. Other than some changes, there were no other changes. This made Wang Xian feel a little helpless. But if this is a powerful treasure, the Great Tempest Academy will probably make use of it instead of keeping it in the vault. Wang Xian murmured. He hesitated for a moment as he looked at the ancient map. Then he injected some water attribute laws into it. When he injected the water attribute laws into it, the ancient map glowed and the ripples on it increased. Wang Xian was stunned for a moment before he injected the water attribute laws into it. The ripples on the ancient paper grew faster and faster. In the end, the pattern of the water lotus became clearer and clearer. Other than this change, there are no other changes. Wang Xian frowned. Could it be that the water energy was insufficient? With a flick of his palm, the 5 elements grindstone appeared in his hand. He placed the ancient drawing on the grindstone. He channeled all his energy into the 5 elements grindstone. The grindstone began to spin, transforming all of it into water-attributed energy that flowed into the ancient blueprint. Waves of majestic energy gushed into it. However, to Wang Xian's astonishment, the ancient blueprint did not change. Instead, the 5 elements grindstone underwent some changes. The water attribute laws of Wang from the king of the water, and the Wang of the on of the water, the Wuxian, and there was. Then it was gone. That's not right. According to the records, there were 2 races that once lived in the eternal river of heaven. One of them was a race that cultivated with 2 attributes, wood and water. Wang Xian murmured as his eyes flickered. He waved his arm and controlled the 5 elements grindstone. The wood and water elements surged into the ancient drawing. In the next moment, the ancient drawing changed again. The water lotus formed by the water ripples slowly moved to the front left. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly and flew in that direction. He flew at high speed. As he flew, the position of the water lotus didn't move. He frowned slightly and continued flying. Half an hour later, he realized that the position of the water lotus on the ancient map had changed. It was getting closer and closer to the center. In fact, it wasn't the water lotus that moved, but Wang Xian. Wang Xian was getting closer and closer to his target. After another 10 minutes, the ancient map showed the starting point of the water ripples. Wang Xian stood there and scanned the surroundings. As far as he could see, there were no treasures in sight. He looked down and flew straight down. The depth of the river was terrifying. He had been flying downwards for half an hour, but he still hadn't reached the bottom. It was like an abyss. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Just as Wang Xian continued to dive deeper, waves of ripples spread over. Soon after, Wang Xian sensed a terrifying attack approaching. Water snakes with lotus-like heads appeared. Due to their unique heads, they didn't look beautiful at all. Instead, they looked horrifying. Wang Xian shook his body and the Tai Chi dragon plate floated around him. Bam, bam, bam. Sounds of collisions were heard and Wang Xian's figure flickered. He wasn't afraid of competing in speed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. His arms turned into dragon claws with chains coiled around them. He grabbed at the water snakes. Swoosh, swoosh. The chains bound the water snakes. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and shook his arm. 5 Pinnacle Universe venerable water snakes were killed instantly. Just like that, he got 5 Pinnacle Universe venerable corpses? This feels good. Swoosh. However, at this moment, another horrifying attack appeared. Wang Xian focused his eyes and smashed the 5 elements grindstone forward. Boom. A violent collision was heard, and the 5 elements grindstone trembled slightly. One of the water snakes was sent flying. The azure blue eyes on the lotus head stared at Wang Xian. Water snake with the combat power of a first-order universe sovereign. Wang Xian's expression changed, and he was shocked. There must be treasures here. He was certain. Otherwise, 5 Pinnacle Universe venerable water snakes wouldn't risk their lives to attack him. These water snakes wouldn't attack recklessly either. That is, he looked down and saw that he had already reached the bottom of the river. There was a lotus that was glowing brightly. The 1-meter lotus had yet to bloom, and was exuding a strong vitality. Water lotus belonged to the water attribute, and was also of the wood attribute. Water and wood had the strongest vitality. No wonder it attacked me. It's because of the water lotus. This ancient drawing is really powerful. Wang Xian's eyes lit up as he stared at the water snake. You're courting death. He moved and flapped his unbeginning saint wings. In an instant, he appeared before the water snake. Chapter 34-25. SSSSSSS. When the First Order Universe Sovereign Realm Water Snake saw Wang Xian appearing beside it, its azure blue eyes changed slightly, and it lowered its head slightly. The refinement above its head expanded gradually and formed a strong defense. Boom. Wang Xian clawed at it with his dragon claws. A terrifying force landed on it, and a huge wound appeared on its head. Wang. At the side, the 5 elements grindstone smashed towards it with destructive energy gathered on it. The water snake was sent flying backwards. SSSSSSSS. It roared, and its eyes were filled with fear. It opened its mouth, and a water snake condensed from the laws of water, attacked the lotus that had yet to bloom. Huh. Wang Xian frowned when he saw this. He moved and appeared in front of the water lotus. With a wave of his palm, he destroyed the water snake's attack. At the side, the water snake turned illusory and left in an instant. Wang Xian swept his gaze over and frowned. This water snake is really smart. If it didn't attack the water lotus, it wouldn't have been able to escape. He murmured. With Wang Xian's current strength and the 5 elements grindstone, experts of the same level could only dream of escaping. If Wang Xian were to encounter the expert in the black cloud previously, he was 100% confident that he could kill him, even if he had obtained another innate spiritual treasure. What grade is this water lotus? Wang Xian came to the front of the water lotus and sized it up. He sensed that its energy far exceeded that of ordinary acquired spiritual treasures. It should be a 6th grade acquired supreme treasure water lotus. The previous error has been corrected, Wang Xian murmured. A 6th grade water lotus was much more precious than an acquired treasure. The water lotus could be absorbed and used as a powerful weapon. As a weapon, it would be more powerful than an acquired treasure. This isn't fully mature yet. How long will it take to mature? He raised his eyebrows and hesitated for a moment, before placing his palm on the water lotus. A branch extended from his finger, and surges of energy flowed into it. Wang Xian was prepared to accelerate its maturity with the progenitor tree, Wang. To his surprise, the 6th grade water lotus that had yet to bloom seemed to be attracted by something as it gradually shifted to the roots of the progenitor tree. He was surprised. The water lotus entered his body and appeared on the progenitor tree in the Dragon Palace. That's surprising. Is it because of the water lotus? According to Wang Xian's understanding, the water lotus could grow continuously. In other words, as long as there was sufficient energy and time, it could grow to the level of a Tier 12 water lotus. A 12th stage water lotus was a treasure that was even more powerful than a primordial supreme treasure. It was an absolute treasure of the universe. Wang Xian chuckled. After sensing the situation of the water lotus, he took out the ancient blueprint and continued reading. Is there a detection range? He continued to pour in water and wood elemental energy, but there were no changes to the water lotus on the ancient blueprint. He made a guess and flew forward. In the following month he searched along the way, but did not encounter a second water lotus. This made him slightly speechless. Isn't the number of these water lotuses a little too little? After wandering around for another 2 days, his eyes lit up when he saw the changes on the ancient map. With a move of his body he continued to fly forward. On the ancient map, there was another hint in front of him. Isn't this a blessed land of cultivation? I think it's called the Lotus Paradise. 40 minutes later, Wang Xian looked ahead with a slight frown. The Lotus Paradise was the place where the lotus race of the Eternal River used to reside. There were more than a dozen paradise here, and they weren't very far from each other. As for the lotus race, it was the race that was annihilated by the giant galactic beast. At that time, their defense of the paradise was not enough to stop the giant galactic beast. Following the hint on the ancient map, Wang Xian continued to fly forward. Soon he discovered other experts around him, and there were quite a number of them. All of them were water elemental cultivators. The Lotus Mountain is just ahead. As he continued to fly, Wang Xian saw a huge mountain at the bottom of the river. He flew upwards. There was a huge mountain above him, and the entire mountain was like a lotus emerging from the water. This mountain used to be the core of the lotus race. He flew to the top of the mountain. The entire mountain looked exactly like a real lotus, and it belonged to the Tier 12 category. The 12 petal peaks represented the residence of an expert from the lotus race. There was a huge hall in the center. However, all of this had been destroyed, and there were only some remnants that had been repaired. There were many people in this lotus mountain. At a glance, there were at least hundreds of thousands of people. Some were cultivating, while others were setting up stalls to trade. Wang Xian took a look at the ancient map, and with a move, he headed inside. According to the ancient map, there were water lotuses in the surroundings. This water lotus should have an owner. What a waste of time. Wang Xian surveyed his surroundings before flying ahead. There are quite a number of experts around here. Wang Xian came to the Lotus Mountain, and as he looked around, he could sense the power of more than a dozen universe lords. Most of the power came from the 12 petal peaks. Moreover, majestic energy was coming from within. That should be the core of the paradise, and it was beneficial for cultivation. Although this place wasn't occupied by other forces or races, there were quite a number of experts who came here to cultivate and occupy a treasure land. Tier 3 water lotus. Someone is selling a Tier 3 water lotus over there. What's so exciting about a Tier 3 water lotus? It's not very useful for us. It can be cultivated. Someone has cultivated a Tier 3 water lotus to Tier 6. That would require too much time and resources. Come, let's go and take a look. Behind him, two figures flew past Wang Xian quickly, and they were discussing excitedly. Wang Xian looked over, and there was indeed a water lotus. A Tier 3 water lotus was between acquired spiritual treasures and acquired cardinal treasures. However, it wasn't very useful for universe venerables of level 7 and above. Wang Xian made a move and flew over immediately. He could buy this kind of water lotus that could grow forever. With the progenitor tree around, it could evolve faster. A Tier 3 water lotus can be exchanged for an offensive and a defensive water-based acquired spiritual treasure. Or if you have enough resources, you can exchange for it too. An old man sat in the middle, and a matured water lotus was floating in front of him. His voice reverberated in the surroundings. I'll take it. Wang Xian walked over, looked at it, and said. Chapter 34-26. I'll take it. Wang Xian walked over slowly and spoke directly. He was very interested in the water lotus. The progenitor tree could speed up the growth of the water lotus. Even if he couldn't use it now, he could take his time to nurture it. He might even be able to nurture it into a Tier 12 water lotus in the future. Oh, when the crowd saw Wang Xian asking for it, they were surprised and looked over to him. The selling old man revealed a smile. I don't have any weapons, but these resources should be enough, said Wang Xian to the old man as he took out some water attribute fruits and presented them in front of him. Great, it's enough. The old man's eyes lit up when he saw the fruits. Wang Xian waved his arm, and the fruits came to the old man. The old man's eyes lit up as he kept the fruits. Hold on. I want this water lotus too. Just when the old man passed the water lotus to Wang Xian, a voice was heard. Ha! Wang Xian was taken aback. The old man turned around immediately. From the side, two men and a woman walked over. They had 4 arms and a tail. All 4 of their arms were wielding sharp swords. They were over 2 meters tall, and were covered in green. That's the people of Demoness Cave Master. They want it too. Seems like there's going to be a competition. When the crowd saw the 3 figures, they were shocked and whispered. Demoness Cave Master? Wang Xian was curious when he heard the title. That honored one, I want this water lotus. When the 3 of them arrived, the leading lady said to the selling old man. This? The old man looked at Wang Xian with embarrassment on his face. Our deal is done. Wang Xian said plainly. He waved his arm and the water lotus in front of him flew towards him. Swoosh. However, when the water lotus flew towards him, a figure moved. He waved his arm and a thorn entangled the water lotus. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and looked at the lady who made a move. I want this water lotus flower. I hope this supremacy will give face to my master, Demoness Grotto Master. The lady looked at Wang Xian plainly and said, Disciple of Demoness Cave Master? The surrounding experts were slightly taken aback when they heard his words. Wang Xian smiled and shook his head slowly. I've already bought it. I can bring you into the Demoness Cave to train. Give me this water lotus. The woman chuckled and ignored Wang Xian. She looked at the old man beside her. Cultivate in the Demoness Cave. The old man's expression changed. He looked at Wang Xian and gritted his teeth. This, honored sir, I'm not selling the water lotus anymore. It's a deal. Wang Xian looked at him. The divine fruit that he had traded with the other party had already been kept by him. Do you still want to go back on your word? Sorry, it's already a deal. He would never agree. When the old man heard his words, his eyes flickered slightly. Deal. Honored sir, do you think you should sell this water lotus to him or to me? The lady smiled and asked the old man. Of course I'm selling it to you, venerable female. When the old man heard her words, his eyes flickered and he took 2 steps back. Very good, so the water lotus is mine. The girl waved the sharp sword in her hand and spoke to Wang Xian without any hesitation. How dare you be so arrogant here? Wang Xian shook his head. In the next instant, his figure disappeared. Pft. Piercing sounds rang out. When he reappeared, he was already beside the water lotus. He stretched out his hand and put it away. Bam, bam, bam. At the side, the body of the lady fell to the ground. Along with her, the old man also fell to the ground. There was no sign of life. They died instantly without even a scream. Her? SSS, this is? What a fast speed. He actually killed the disciple of the Demoness Cave Master. So strong. When the 2 corpses fell to the ground, the surrounding people were shocked and quickly took a few steps back. How dare you kill our senior sister? You're courting death. The man beside the lady reacted. His expression changed drastically as he shouted sternly. Wang Xian looked at them and frowned slightly. He flicked his finger and a surge of horrifying energy entered their bodies instantly. Boom. An explosion sounded from their bodies and they died instantly. Courting death. This wasn't a city, nor was it the territory of some races. Wang Xian had seen some rules. Rules meant that there were no rules. Just now, the old man and the lady disobeyed the rules and tried to suppress him with their aura. However, that was purely courting death. Perhaps the lady was used to being arrogant, or she had a powerful background. But what use was that? There would always be foolish people everywhere. He's an expert, but the 3 of them are the subordinates of the Demoness Cave Master. Does he not want to stay here anymore? Heh, that lady is a fool. Serves her right for offending others so casually. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they whispered softly. Boom. Right at this moment, a terrifying wave of energy covered the sky and covered the earth, shrouding this side. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they flew away immediately. Who's courting death? How dare you kill my disciple? A lady with 4 arms flew out from a petal hole on the peak of the Lotus Mountain. Her face was filled with intense murderous intent. She locked her gaze on Wang Xian. Without any hesitation, she attacked with her sword aura. Wang Xian squinted his eyes. The unbeginning sacred wings appeared on his back instantly, and he disappeared. Swoosh. In the next instant he appeared beside the Demoness. His arms turned into dragon claws and attacked the Demoness. What? He's so fast. The Demoness sensed Wang Xian's speed and was shocked. She immediately blocked with the 4 sharp swords in her hands. Boom. The powerful force immediately sent her flying. Boom, boom, boom. Large-scale battles are prohibited in the eternal river of heaven. No one is allowed to break the rules. Demoness Cave Master, if you want to fight, do it in the sky. Just as Wang Xian was about to continue his attack, a surge of aura came from the petal holes. A cold voice entered their ears. I know. The Demoness Cave Master wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and stared at Wang Xian with fear. Wang Xian looked at the petal holes below and did not continue his attack. He could sense a strong threat coming from these caves. All of them were at the level of a universe lord. Hey brother, I can see the aura of a divine dragon on you. Are you a new expert from the ancestral dragon lineage? At this moment, an imposing middle-aged man walked out from one of the holes and asked Wang Xian. Ha! Wang Xian looked at the middle-aged man with flickering eyes. The other party was a divine dragon. Chapter 34-27. The aura of the wood element was filled with dense dragon might. His strength should be around the First Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Wang Xian looked at the imposing middle-aged man, and a name popped up in his mind. Azure Dragon Moon. There was an azure dragon in the eternal river of heaven, which was of the wood element. Currently, the dragon palace had the gold dragon, water dragon, fire dragon, wind dragon, thunder dragon, and darkness dragon. The azure dragon was one of the missing dragons. At the sight of Azure Dragon Moon's kind expression, he cupped his hands together. You are not a disciple of the dragon ancestors' bloodline, but you are also of the divine dragon bloodline. You should be Azure Dragon Moon, right? I have long heard of you. Wang Xian said to Azure Dragon Moon. In the universe, apart from the sacred dragon bloodline, the other divine dragon bloodlines are all my friends. If you don't mind, you can come and be my guest. Qing Longyue laughed heartily and invited Wang Xian. All right. Wang Xian felt the kindness and nodded his head slightly. This was the first expert from the ancestral dragon's lineage he had encountered. Moreover, he seemed to be quite easy to get along with. An expert of the divine dragon lineage. No wonder this lord dared to casually destroy the disciple of Grotto Master Demonis. In just one move, Grotto Mistress was injured. His strength is definitely at the First Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Haha, this time, Cave Mistress Demonis has met her match. In the surrounding area, some people saw this scene and were slightly shocked as they discussed. Cave Master Demonis gave him a vicious glare before returning to her cave abode with a flash. May I know your name? Wang Xian asked as he entered Qing Longyue's cave abode. Wang Xian. Wang Xian replied. Wang Xian? Which dragon palace's dragon king? Azure Dragon Moon faltered slightly and looked at him in surprise. I didn't expect Brother Azure Dragon to know that our dragon palace is just a small faction. Wang Xian couldn't help but ask when he recognized Wang Xian. This was the first time he was recognized after coming to the Great Desolate Continent. The dragon palace's strength was very strong in the periphery. It was almost invincible and had a great reputation. But inside, it was unknown, and no one would pay too much attention to it. Haha, Brother Wang Xian, you're too humble. Because we're both from the divine dragon lineage, I've been paying more attention to it. I've learned a little about it through the universe AI. I never expected to meet the third leader of the divine dragon lineage in the universe. Azure Dragon Moon laughed heartily as he gestured for him to take a seat and poured him a cup of wine. With a wave of his hand, some delicacies appeared on the table. Our dragon palace can't be compared to the ancestral dragon lineage. The ancestral dragon leader has great courage and is admirable. Wang Xian said with a smile. His words were sincere. I do admire our leader, Qing Longyue exclaimed. He then looked at Wang Xian and said, however, I've also read about your deeds. Impressive. You're even more impressive than what the rumors say. You're too modest. Wang Xian shook his head. I wonder what Brother Wang Xian thinks of the sacred dragon tribe? Azure Dragon Moon suddenly asked. Evaluation? There's nothing to evaluate. Wang Xian was taken aback for a moment before he smiled. Since some people like to be lackeys, let them be. As long as we stand at the pinnacle again and rebuild the glory of the divine dragon lineage, it'll be sufficient. Haha, great. Our leader once said the same thing. If some people like to be lackeys, let them be. When we stand at the pinnacle again, we'll be the purest divine dragon lineage. Azure Dragon Moon laughed heartily as he picked up his cup. It's been a long time since I've met a brother from the divine dragon lineage. Cheers. Wang Xian picked up his cup with a smile on his face. Oh yes, Brother Azure Dragon Moon. I've just arrived at the Eternal River of Heaven. Can you tell me more about the situation here? Wang Xian asked. Indeed, he didn't know much about the situation here. For example, the unspoken rules of the experts in the 12-petal caves. The Eternal River of Heaven is a chaotic place with no restrictions. However, there's an unspoken rule. Don't engage in any powerful battles here, lest you disturb the cosmic beast in the Eternal River of Heaven. Secondly, there are 2 grotto heavens in the Eternal River of Heaven. Our Lotus Grotto Heaven and my cave abode are top-notch places. You should be able to sense the energy here, which will greatly aid your cultivation. There are 12 such cave abodes, which are the 12-petal caves. Experts from 11 other forces, and I occupy these places. We're known as the 12 Cave Masters. Our combat strength is at the First Order and Second Order of the Universe Sovereigns. There's only one Second Order expert. Azure Dragon Moon explained to him. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. The energy here was indeed abundant, especially the water energy. Cultivating here for a day would be equivalent to cultivating for 100 days outside. Brother Wang Xian, you're strong. It shouldn't be difficult for you to become a cave master. You can challenge one of them. If you defeat them, this cave abode will belong to you. The Azure Dragon Moon continued. Challenge? How do I do that? Wang Xian asked curiously. You can challenge them directly. For example, the female demon cave master just now. You can challenge her at the entrance, and she will accept. After that, you can have a battle in the sky. If you win, she will have to leave this place. Azure Dragon Moon answered. Oh, that's pretty simple. Wang Xian nodded his head. There are 12 cave masters. Given your strength, as long as you don't challenge the Eternal Heaven Cave Master, the Water Mage Cave Master, or the Ice Emperor Cave Master, the rest shouldn't be a problem. Of course, the female demon cave master should have great treasures. Azure Dragon Moon said. Eternal Heaven Cave Master, Water Mage, Ice Emperor? Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. Brother Azure Dragon Moon, I have another question. Are there many water lotuses in the Eternal Heaven River? How can there be so many treasures? If Brother Wang Xian is here for the water lotuses, you might have to search for them for a long time. I've been here for tens of thousands of years, and I've only found a 6th grade water lotus. Azure Dragon Moon smiled and shook his head. I heard that there are many water lotuses in the place where the water falls from the sky. Moreover, there are even 9th grade water lotuses. However, no one dares to go there. That giant star beast is there? Wang Xian asked curiously. I'm not sure, but the possibility is high. It's a genuine cosmic beast at the universe sovereign realm. Even the experts from the pinnacle races might not be able to kill it. Moreover, they might even suffer its revenge. Although I'm not sure, no one dares to go there. Azure Dragon Moon said. All right. Thank you, Brother Azure Dragon Moon, for informing me. Wang Xian expressed his gratitude and nodded his head slightly. He had some thoughts in his mind. Come, have a taste of the snow lotus seeds I got from the snowy mountains above. TSK, they taste pretty good. Azure Dragon Moon gestured to him. The snow lotus seeds that were emitting blue radiance were comparable to the divine fruits of pinnacle universe supremacies. Haha, alright. I'm going to look for a cave abode to stay in. When the time comes, Brother Azure Dragon Moon, feel free to look for me if you need anything. Wang Xian smiled and said. Both of them could be considered as making friends. Chapter 34-28. Wang Xian and Qing Longyue chatted for a long time. He now had a detailed understanding of the Eternal Heaven River. Walking out of Qing Longyue's cave abode, Wang Xian moved and came to the front of Cave Master Demonis' cave abode. Cave Master Demonis, get out here. He stood in front and said plainly. His voice traveled into Cave Master Demonis' cave abode. Not far away, Qing Longyue leaned on his cave abode and watched the scene with a smile. Huh. That expert wants to challenge Cave Master Demonis. He exchanged a blow with Cave Master Demonis, and he clearly has the upper hand. It's a battle for Cave Master. Such a battle has not happened in a long time. It's going to be a huge battle. In the middle, everyone was shocked to see Wang Xian challenge the female Demonis Cave Master. This was the blessed grotto heaven of the Lotus race. At their peak, the Lotus race had the combat strength of a second-order universe lord. As their lair, their blessed grotto heavens were far more powerful than the blessed grotto heavens of other factions. The energy contained in each cave abode could not even be compared to a huge city like the Eternal Heaven City. In fact, in the Eternal Heaven River, a faction from the Eternal Heaven City occupied a place and became a cave master. Cave Master Demonis was a first-order universe lord. Even though she did not have her own faction, she was not someone to be trifled with. You're courting death. Within the Banshee Cave abode, the Banshee Cave Master snorted and flew out immediately. She locked her cold gaze on Wang Xian. Hee. Wang Xian chuckled. With a swift move, he flew up into the sky. Arriving at the sky above the Eternal Heaven River, he looked down at Cave Master Demonis with disdain. He was 100% confident that he could deal with Cave Master Demonis. I'm going to kill you. Cave Master Demonis exuded a blue glow. Her forearms wielded sharp swords and her face was hideous. She waved her forearms and a horrifying water current slashed towards the sky. Wang Xian moved and dodged it easily. Die. Cave Master Demonis roared and charged into the sky. At the same time, in the other 10 cave abodes, figures were watching the scene in front of them. The scene outside was shown on the screen. They were naturally paying close attention to an expert challenging a cave master. This person might be their competitor in the future. Wang Xian could vaguely feel the gazes from the surroundings. He smiled faintly. Energy flowed within his body. True dragon body, water divine dragon body. Dragon soaring cloud and mist. He growled and a huge cloud appeared in the sky, blocking everyone's line of sight. His gaze locked onto the cave master Demoness, who was charging towards him, and he immediately moved. Walala! Streams of water attacked Grotto Mistress Demoness. Grotto Mistress Demoness slashed with her sharp sword. Pu. Wang Xian's attack was nullified immediately. You killed my disciple, I will kill you this time. Sensing Wang Xian's attack, Cave Master Demoness' eyes lit up. In her opinion, the last time she was ambushed, the other party must have unleashed some powerful bloodline power. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to be so fast. Judging from his current fighting prowess, it was only SOSO. He was completely capable of fighting. He just had to be careful of his outburst. Kill. Wang Xian let out a low growl as he manipulated the water flow to form a divine dragon. Once again, he charged towards Cave Master Demoness. Demoness technique, water. Cave Master Demoness let out a low growl. One by one, demonesses formed from the water flow appeared. They swarmed towards Wang Xian. Wang Xian flapped his unbeginning saint wings and dodged continuously. He did not display his true strength. Yes, he was concealing his true strength. There were experts spying on him from below. Moreover, since Wang Xian was prepared to stay here for a period of time, he definitely could not reveal his full strength. When he revealed all his trump cards, it would be the most dangerous moment for him. Keeping some trump cards was also a precaution against some special situations. Wang Xian and Cave Master Demoness clashed. He did not use the 5 elements grindstone or unbeginning saint wings. He only relied on his mystique and battle techniques to fight. When he encountered some danger, he would flee quickly from time to showcase his speed. This would also prevent Cave Master Demoness from suspecting him. In a battle between experts, especially those of the same level, the battle would last for a long time if there wasn't too much suppression. Wang Xian was in no hurry as he played along with Cave Master Demoness. Time passed by hour. Below, everyone lifted their heads to watch the battle in the sky. They could only sense the horrifying might, but couldn't even see the shadow of it. Within the group of Grotto Heavens, experts were also spying on the battle. A day passed by quickly and the battle continued. No one was surprised. A battle for a day wasn't long. Who do you think will win? It's hard to say. A battle between universe dominators isn't something we can guess. I think it's the new lord. He seems very powerful. Cave Master Demoness is also very strong. A battle of this level will depend on who has more treasures and trump cards. Within the Lotus Mountain, the experts were discussing. Is Brother Wang Xian hiding his strength? Based on the information I received, he's very strong among those of the same level. He's almost invincible. What's going on now? Azure Dragon Moon looked at the battle in the sky. Because of the clouds, it could not see anything. Due to the raging energy, he couldn't see the exact situation of the battle. Demoness Realm. At this moment, a cold voice came from above. A humongous phantom of a demoness appeared in the sky and slashed downwards with her sword. A wave of horrifying energy filled the sky. Almighty Heavenly Dragon. A roar was heard. Everyone could vaguely see a horrifying divine dragon charging towards the demoness. When some people saw the divine dragon, they couldn't help but look towards Azure Dragon Moon. Could this lord be an expert from the ancestral dragon lineage? I don't think so. He just met Lord Azure Dragon Moon. Some people looked on in shock. Damn it. At this moment, Cave Master Demoness, who was in the middle of the battlefield, was extremely embarrassed when she saw the divine dragon. Her demoness realm was suppressed by the divine dragon. Since the start of the battle, she was at a slight disadvantage. I'm not going to play with you anymore. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as his unbeginning sacred wings shone brightly. Swoosh. In the next moment, he vanished instantly. This move again. Cave Master Demoness revealed a vicious look as she scanned the surroundings with vigilance. No, it's faster than before. At this moment, Wang Xian's voice was heard behind her. What? Cave Master Demoness was shocked. Chapter 34-29. A wave of horrifying energy pierced through the body of the Cave Master Demoness. The 5 elements grindstone was already on top of her head. You have been hiding your strength. How can you be so strong? Feeling her life force disappearing rapidly, the Cave Master Demoness was filled with disbelief and fear. Wang Xian smiled faintly with disdain in his eyes. It's a piece of cake to kill you. As he spoke plainly, the life force of the Cave Master Demoness disappeared rapidly. Wang Xian kept the corpse. With a wave of his arm, a wave of energy surged around him. A few seconds later, his body moved and he flew down to the ground. He won. Seeing Wang Xian flying down, Azure Dragon Moon raised his eyebrows and revealed a smile. Congratulations. He congratulated. We will be neighbors from now on, Brother Azure Dragon Moon. Wang Xian smiled and cupped his fists. Indeed, it's this lord who won. From the beginning of the collision, it seems that this lord is a bit stronger. One cave master has changed. That cave master Demoness must have escaped. Some people were discussing in the surroundings. As they did not hear the shrieks of the cave master Demoness, they instinctively thought that she had escaped back to her own holy kingdom. After all, it would be difficult to kill someone of the same level. The spying in the surrounding cave abode also disappeared quickly. Wang Xian moved and flew towards the cave abode of the Cave Master Demoness. With a wave of his arm, the stone tablet at the side was smashed into pieces. When he entered the cave abode of the Cave Master Demoness, there was nothing left. When the battle ended, some experts in the cave abode had already taken the items and left. The entire cave abode spanned over 10,000 kilometers, and was decorated with magnificent buildings. These buildings were left behind by the Lotus race. It used to be the residence of the pinnacle experts of the Lotus race. Wang Xian wandered around the place. The energy here was abnormally abundant, making it suitable for cultivation. He made some arrangements and released the purple thunder snake to guard the entrance with a wave of his arm. He entered the palace in the center. At this moment he suddenly sensed a change in the water lotus that he had just obtained. He kept the Tier 3 water lotus immediately after he obtained it. The progenitor tree automatically absorbed it. However, he realized that the Tier 3 water lotus had disappeared. The 6th grade water lotus next to him was slightly bigger than when he first got it. The small water lotus merged with the 6th stage water lotus? Wang Xian sensed it and confirmed the answer. Who would have thought that the progenitor tree would be able to improve the fusion speed of the water lotus? If I had enough water lotus, I would be able to upgrade the grade 6 water lotus to grade 9 very quickly. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. In a flash, he arrived at the entrance of the cave abode. He moved his palm and left a line of words in front of the cave. He bought all kinds of water lotuses at a high price. Although the words were a little vulgar, they were definitely useful. As one of the 12 cave masters of the Lotus Flower Peak of the Eternal Heaven River, he had a great reputation. His status was definitely not any weaker than that of the chiefs of some large cities or races. After all, the cave lord of the Lotus Flower Peak was a first-order universe sovereign. After engraving these words, he once again returned to the Immortal's Cave, and threw the corpse of the female demon cave master into the Dragon Palace, to let Shui Linglong's father advance a bit. Shui Linglong's father was a water dragon. If he broke through, he would become a first-order universe sovereign realm water divine dragon. This might be quite useful in the Heaven Eternal River. Therefore, Wang Xian sent a message to Tianjun, asking him to come over to the Heaven Eternal River. Now that Tianjun had completed his breakthrough, he already possessed the strength of a first-order universe sovereign. Within this realm, he was also an invincible existence. The main reason Wang Xian asked him to come over was to keep watch in the cave abode, and set up some arrays in the surroundings. Wang. Greetings, Dragon King. Soon, Tianjun arrived and greeted him. Wang Xian nodded his head and gave him some instructions. This included the possibility of someone selling water lotuses to Tianjun after he left. Yes, Dragon King. Tianjun nodded his head. This was a small matter. Wang Xian moved his palm and took out the ancient map. On it, it showed the existence of water lotuses. This should be a water lotus with an owner. His figure moved and he flew out, deciding to search the surroundings. If he could get his hands on some water lotuses, it would be extremely beneficial to him, be it as a weapon or for him to devour. Flying from the lotus flower peak, Wang Xian headed towards the place where the water from the sky fell. According to the information from Green Dragon Moon, there might be a Tier 9, or even a legendary Tier 12 water lotus there. However, there was a terrifying giant star beast there. Wang Xian wasn't arrogant enough to think that he was a match for that giant star beast. However, he wasn't satisfied if he didn't check it out. The main reason was the existence of the ancient map. He still had a special method. Shuttling through the Heaven Eternal River at high speed, he would occasionally encounter some wild beasts. The wild beasts here were extremely strong. If he wasn't careful, he would suffer a heavy blow or even die from a sneak attack. Wang Xian had to be more cautious. For the next month, he shuttled through the river at high speed. With the ancient map, he didn't have to search as carefully as others. The ancient map covered a huge area. It was so huge that he had to fly for dozens of minutes. This allowed him to explore the water lotuses at an exceptional speed. Boom boom boom. After flying for 2 months, a deafening roar came from the front. Wang Xian looked over and was astonished. In the sky, a terrifying torrent of water descended. The terrifying might and sound traveled very far. This was an incomparably vast waterfall that reached the heavens. Huh. At this time, Wang Xian looked at the ancient map. Just as Green Dragon Moon had said, there were water lotuses below the water in the sky. Moreover, on the ancient map, the water ripples formed 4 to 5 water lotuses. This meant that there were 4 to 5 water lotuses in this area. The nearest one is also at the edge of the water in the sky. If I go there myself, I might trigger that giant star beast. Wang Xian frowned as he looked at the information on the ancient map. Actually, he had an idea, and that was Enlai. Enlai had an ancient oil lamp. After more than 10 years, he had accumulated a lot of vitality fluid. The defense of the ancient oil lamp should be able to withstand a blow from a real universe dominator. This was also the reason why he came here to take a look. I can let Enlai take the risk to pluck the water lotuses at the edge. As for the deeper parts, I'll let Enlai act according to the situation. Wang Xian murmured and immediately contacted Enlai. Soon, Dark Blaze's figure appeared in front of the Demon Soul altar. Chapter 34:30. Dragon King. Enlai looked at Wang Xian and bowed respectfully. Have you brought the ancient oil lamp and vitality fluid? Wang Xian looked at Enlai and asked. Yeah, I've brought them. Enlai nodded. Alright, Enlai, calculate the distance ratio on this ancient map. Later on, go to this location. There's a water lotus here. Go and see if you can get it. Don't force it. There's a terrifying existence at the universe lord level here. Be careful. Escape immediately if you encounter it. Bring the 5 elements grindstone with you. It can show the location of the water lotus on the ancient map. I'll remind you through the 5 elements grindstone. Wang Xian instructed Enlai with the ancient map in his hand. Alright, Dragon King. I'll be careful. Enlai nodded. His eyes flickered as he looked up. Enlai nodded. His figure moved and disappeared in an instant. He teleported around and calculated the distance shown on the ancient map, and the distance he teleported. Subsequently, he teleported forward. Wang Xian sat cross-legged at the bottom of the river, and sensed from afar. The 5 elements grindstone was equivalent to Wang Xian's eyes. He could see everything around the grindstone. He could also communicate with Enlai. However, Wang Xian didn't say anything and watched quietly. Enlai's teleportation speed was terrifying. Without any pause, he teleported rapidly. After a dozen seconds, Enlai approached rapidly. It's just ahead, Enlai. Be careful of your surroundings. There might be wild beasts guarding around. Wang Xian reminded him. He was vigilant of his surroundings through the 5 elements grindstone. Enlai was still a little weak. His observation skills were much weaker than Wang Xian's. Therefore, Wang Xian acted as his eyes and reminded him. Teleport a short distance to get closer. Be careful. Wang Xian continued to remind him. Enlai's figure flickered, and he teleported over immediately. I see it. As Enlai approached, Wang Xian focused his eyes on the water lotus. A 6th grade water lotus. Be careful of your surroundings. There's a 90% chance that there's a powerful wild beast guarding. Found it. Behind that water lotus. Do you see it? It's a fish-like wild beast with a pointy head. It should be a first-order universe lord. Soon, Wang Xian sensed the dire beast guarding the water lotus through the 5 elements grindstone. Dark Lie, teleport to the right. I'm scouting. Wang Xian ordered. It's Dragon King. Enlai replied and scanned his surroundings vigilantly. His life was very fragile here. Buzz. Once Enlai's figure disappeared, Wang Xian immediately looked around. Do it. Snatch the water lotus and teleport away. I will protect you through the 5 elements grindstone. Wang Xian scanned the surroundings and spoke after confirming. Buzz. Enlai instantly appeared in front of the water lotus and directly reached out to grab it. Buzz. At the same time, 5 divine dragon shadows appeared around Enlai, protecting him completely. Gigi. The moment Enlai appeared, the terrifying fish in front of him moved. He had sharp thorns and like a swordfish, he dashed forward in an instant. Enlai sensed it. He clenched his teeth and plucked the water lotus completely. Bam! The terrifying fish-type wild beast's sharp head smashed into the 5 elements grindstone's defense. Dark Blaze's figure instantly disappeared. Success! Seeing Enlai succeed, Wang Xian revealed a smile. A Tier 6 water lotus was priceless. Especially such a treasure, which was incomparable to a postnatal cardinal treasure. Dragon King, I got it successfully. That wild beast's attack speed is too fast. Enlai returned very quickly and reported with a smile. Alright, leave it to me. Let's continue the operation. However, the next target is at the place where the water from the heavens fell. It might be even more dangerous there. Do what you did just now. Wang Xian said to him. Yes, Dragon King. Enlai nodded. Fortunately, Enlai is around. Otherwise, I wouldn't even dare to go there alone. Wang Xian mumbled to himself as he watched Enlai leave. Even though his speed was terrifying, he didn't dare to enter recklessly with the reminder of the Azure Dragon Moon. If he were to disturb the galactic beast at the universe dominator level, he would definitely be courting death. The possibility of him escaping was extremely low. After all, such a galactic beast could exert immense pressure on Wang Xian with just its aura alone. With a flick of his palm, the Tier 6 water lotus entered his body and appeared on the progenitor tree. He sensed that the 2 water lotuses were beginning to fuse. Could the fusion of 2 Tier 6 water lotuses improve it? He mumbled to himself as he looked at the speed of fusion. Then he focused his attention on the 5 elements grindstone again. Enlai continued to move forward and came to the front of the second water lotus very quickly. However, at this moment, streams of water surged from above, causing the pressure at the bottom of the river to increase tremendously. As the water from the heavens fell, this place was already covered. This made Enlai even more vigilant. On the 5 elements grindstone, the heads of the 5 divine dragons popped out slowly and scanned the surroundings with vigilance. Continue approaching, Wang Xian ordered. Enlai teleported immediately. When the water lotus appeared in Wang Xian's senses, he frowned slightly. He could already see the water lotus, but he didn't sense any wild beasts guarding the surroundings. This didn't make sense. After all, the eternal river was still the domain of the wild beasts. The appearance of the water lotus would definitely be discovered by the wild beasts. However, there weren't any wild beasts around. It was highly possible that he didn't sense them. Enlai, I can't sense any wild beasts. Be careful. Wang Xian reminded him. Enlai nodded. After hesitating for a moment, he teleported again. After teleporting to another direction, Wang Xian scanned the surroundings again, and still couldn't find anything. Be careful. He reminded again. Dragon King, I'm going to strike now. Enlai frowned slightly and said, All right. Wang Xian nodded. He had no other choice but to let Enlai strike. With the ancient oil lamp, it shouldn't be a problem. Wang. Enlai's figure appeared in front of the water lotus instantly. Without any hesitation, he grabbed at it. The 5 elements grindstone raised its defense. Wang. At this moment, a horrifying tentacle swept towards Enlai. So fast. Enlai's expression changed drastically as he gritted his teeth and grabbed at the water lotus. Be careful. It's a wild beast with at least second-order universe sovereign combat strength. Wang Xian warned as his expression changed drastically. Bam! The horrifying tentacle landed on the defense of the 5 elements grindstone, and the defense collapsed immediately. A smear of red light enveloped Enlai's body and blocked the tentacle's attack. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, countless tentacles swarmed over and covered him completely. Enlai heaved a sigh of relief as he teleported with the water lotus. This time he didn't do any scouting. He relied entirely on his speed and luck. Buzz! Enlai arrived in front of the water lotus. His eyes glowed as he grabbed it. Boom! But at this moment, an incomparably terrifying tentacle rose up. It was only a single tentacle, but it was hundreds of thousands of meters long. Enlai instantly felt his breathing become sluggish. The water around him stopped flowing. It was as if the entire space had been locked down. Ka. The ancient oil lamp on Enlai's body burned rapidly. The vitality fluid within it was depleting at a terrifying speed. What monster is this? Wang Xian held his breath when he sensed this extremely horrifying attack. Everything around him seemed to be locked down as the horrifying tentacle swept over. There were horrifying suction cups on the tentacle. Compared to the tentacle of the wild beast, it paled in comparison. Enlai, hurry up. Wang Xian urged. Enlai quickly kept the water lotus in front of him. Boom. In the next moment, the tentacle landed on Enlai and sent him flying. The ancient oil lamp began to flicker, and the vitality fluid was emptied almost instantly. Swish, swish, swish. Without any hesitation, Enlai began to teleport rapidly. Swoosh. That terrifying tentacle immediately attacked the spot where Enlai had disappeared. A stream of water swept across billions of kilometers. Wang Xian, who was standing far away, could only feel a violent stream of water surging towards him. His pupils constricted and his face was filled with astonishment. Is this the universe dominator cosmic giant beast? Shouldn't be wrong. He murmured with astonishment in his eyes. This horrifying attack could kill Wang Xian instantly, especially the horrifying confinement ability. It was as though the water in that space was completely locked down. He took a deep breath. It was truly terrifying. Dragon King, we got it. Enlai appeared at the side. Oh no, return to the Dragon Palace immediately. However, at this moment, Wang Xian sensed an even more horrifying stream of water surging towards him. He hurriedly shouted at Enlai. Wang. As soon as he finished his sentence, his figure gradually disappeared. Enlai also disappeared without any hesitation. 5 seconds after they left, a humongous beast swam over. It looked like a huge octopus with hundreds of huge tentacles. Its head was triangular, like an extremely sharp weapon. It had 3 eyes and a vertical eye in the middle, which caused the surrounding water to be motionless. When it came here, it seemed to be the king of this space. Everything had to obey its orders. The surroundings were filled with dead silence. Only the humongous beast was staring at them coldly. Rumble, rumble, rumble. It raised its tentacles one by one. Within a radius of tens of billions of kilometers, everyone looked over in horror and fled in fear. This aura caused one to feel despair. Phew. At the same time, Wang Xian heaved a sigh of relief in the Dragon Palace. Enlai appeared nearby and wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Dragon King, the vitality fluid in the ancient oil lamp was almost used up. If I was any slower, I might have died there. Was that a being at the level of the dominator of the universe? It should be. The vitality fluid in the oil lamp is also valuable. Wang Xian sighed. The vitality fluid was accumulated by the Dragon Palace over the years. Disregarding its value, it could still be bought with 1 or 2 acquired treasures. Now it was all gone. He had paid a huge price to get the water lotus. Dragon King, here you go. This water lotus contains more energy than the others. Enlai handed the water lotus over. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows when he saw it. Fortunately, this water lotus is very valuable. He looked at the grade 6 water lotus that had 2 flower buds and revealed a smile. Chapter 34-32. This water lotus had 2 flower buds, and the 3rd flower bud was already faintly visible. The 2 flower buds weren't small anymore. It was very likely that it would advance to the 9th stage water lotus very soon. Of course, this was very fast, but it would also take a long time. If these 4 water lotuses are fused together, there might be a slight chance for it to rise to the 9th grade water lotus. Looking at the 4 water lotuses on the progenitor tree, Wang Xian revealed a faint smile. He informed the heavenly formation and ordered it to set up a demon soul altar. Following Enlai's lead, he arrived at the cave residence on Lotus Peak. Enlai, I have a mission for you. Take the 5 elements grindstone and search for water lotuses in the eternal heaven river. Don't go near the giant star beast. Wang Xian did not let Enlai leave as he instructed him. Although Enlai no longer had the protection of the ancient oil lamp, as long as he didn't go to the giant star beast location, he should be safe with the protection of the 5 elements grindstone. Enlai's speed was faster than Wang Xian's. It would be more convenient for him to search. Yes, Dragon King. Enlai nodded. At the side, Tianjun was studying the array. Wang Xian did not interrupt him, and flew to the entrance of the cave abode. I heard that the center of the eternal river of heaven is surging with terrifying waves, and a terrifying might is wreaking havoc in the surroundings. I've also heard about it. It should be the giant star beast that came out. Isn't this too terrifying? Some people have already slipped away recently. They're afraid that the giant star beast will go berserk. Otherwise, we won't be able to escape even if we wanted to. As soon as Zhang Xian walked out of the cavern, he heard some voices. His eyes flickered. With that space beast's terrifying power, the moment it charged over, its restrictive energy would make it hard for universe supremacies to escape. The sovereign of the universe. What was a sovereign? It was someone who could rule over a part of the world. This was especially true for water attribute experts in rivers and oceans. Their strength would be amplified even more. Senior Azure Dragon Moon. In front of Qing Longyue's cave abode, more than 10 flustered figures flew over. They came to the front of the cave and bowed respectfully. Hey, these 10-odd people are disciples of the divine dragon bloodline. Wang Xian's dragon eyes glimmered as he looked at their bloodlines. Then he shook his head. The Dragon Palace couldn't compare to the number of the ancestral dragon's bloodline. Before they disbanded, they had tens of millions of disciples. Now that the ancestral Gragon had been disbanded for tens of millions of years, the number of disciples would probably increase again. Of course, it was also possible that there were fewer of them. After all, the outside world was dangerous. More than a dozen disciples of the ancestral dragon lineage bowed in front of the Azure Dragon Moon cave abode, and quickly entered. Wang Xian looked around before returning to his cave abode. He sensed the fusion of the water lotus. At this speed, it would probably take 1 to 2 years. He was not in a hurry. In the desolate continent, a year or 2 passed in the blink of an eye. Wang Xian returned to the cave abode, and checked some information on the universe AI. Time passed day by day. 10 days later, good news came from Enlai's side. He had obtained a water lotus. Although it was a 3rd grade water lotus, it was still not bad. After sending it over, he immediately went out. If other experts wanted to find the water lotus, they would have to search carefully. They would even have to search everywhere. How big was the eternal heaven river? Even a first-order sovereign realm expert would need hundreds of millions of years to search through every corner of the city. Therefore, if others wanted to find the water lotus, they would have to rely on their luck. If he was lucky, he would be able to get one. If he was unlucky, He might not be able to get one even after staying here for millions of years. However, other than the water lotus, there were other treasures in the eternal heaven river, such as divine trees, divine herbs, divine fruits, etc. However, Enlai was different. Enlai could teleport. With the ancient map, he could search every region rapidly. Based on his speed, he could search every corner of the eternal heaven river in a few years' time, except for the central region. For the next period of time, he stayed quietly in the cave abode. One by one, the water lotus was sent over by Enlai. Within a short period of time, he had found more than 20 water lotus of 3rd grade and 6th grade. Among them, there were 10 6th grade, which was beyond Wang Xian's expectations. He was slightly excited about this. The 9th grade water lotus was stable. There was a 100% chance of fusion. He might even be able to get 2 9th grade water lotus. This was much better than risking his life in the central region. Another year passed in a flash. On this day, Wang Xian felt a majestic water energy surging within his body. A phantom of a lotus gradually appeared in front of him. Has it fused into a 9th grade water lotus? Wang Xian sensed the energy and looked at the phantom in front of him. His eyes were shining. With a thought, a 2-meter water lotus appeared in front of him. The entire water lotus contained a majestic life force and water energy circulating. Wang Xian looked at it with astonishment. The water energy was much stronger than inborn spiritual treasures. This was an existence that was above inborn spiritual treasures, but below inborn cardinal treasures. Wang Xian moved and sat cross-legged on the water lotus. Streams of water flowed around his body, making him feel exceptionally comfortable. The water lotus focuses on defense and cultivation. It's also very strong in attack. This is a powerful treasure that combines offense and defense with cultivation. No wonder the water lotus is so valuable. He murmured to himself. Sitting on it, he felt a little sacred. This water lotus could be used as an inborn spiritual treasure weapon. It could also be absorbed. After absorbing it, one could understand the essence of the water lotus. Perhaps it could help one understand a powerful attack. Hehe. Wang Xian chuckled with a satisfied look on his face. On the progenitor tree, there were still a bunch of water lotuses fusing. Based on the number of water lotuses, it shouldn't be a problem to fuse them into 3 more. However, it might be difficult to fuse them into a Tier 12 water lotus. This would require at least a dozen Tier 9 water lotuses. However, he was already very satisfied with what he had gained. With the water lotus, his strength could be enhanced further. In the past, it was 1 against 3. Now it was 1 against 4. Senior Qing Longyue, save me. At this moment, a horrifying cry for help came from outside. Wang Xian was taken aback. He moved and flew out. Boom. At the entrance, Wang Xian saw a few disciples from the divine dragon lineage escaping in his direction with the imprisonment circles above their heads. Behind them, a dozen figures were chasing after them. A disciple who had transformed into a divine dragon had his head pierced by a sharp sword, courting death. An angry voice came from within Qinglongyue's cave abode. A green divine dragon flew out and transformed into a green dragon. It had directly turned into an azure dragon. One could imagine how furious it was. Shit, run. The dozen figures who were chasing after Qinglongyue had a drastic change of expression as they fled immediately. Chapter 34-33. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The moment Azure Dragon Moon charged out, the group of pursuers had a drastic change of expression. Their bodies started to turn illusory as they fled immediately. Even though Azure Dragon Moon was strong, he was still too far away. Hence, they managed to escape. This caused him to be extremely embarrassed. He moved and caught the body of the ancestral dragon bloodline disciple with his dragon claws. After checking, he revealed a regretful expression. Sir, let's accompany him. The other 4 ancestral dragon bloodline disciples flew over and looked over with an extremely ugly expression. Their hearts sank, and they could not help but ask. He's dead. Azure Dragon Moon said with a cold gaze. Sir, the experts from the sacred dragon bloodline are hunting our ancestral dragon bloodline disciples. Moreover, a few days ago, the 100 Cities Alliance posted a bounty for our ancestral dragon bloodline disciples. Anyone who kills our ancestral dragon bloodline disciples will be rewarded handsomely. Sir, what should we do now? One of the ancestral dragon bloodline disciples could not help but kneel in front of him and asked furiously. A bounty from the 100 Cities Alliance? Azure Dragon Moon's expression changed slightly, and his eyes were filled with anger. Follow me into the cave abode. As he spoke, he moved and brought the corpse into the cave abode. The other 4 ancestral dragon bloodline disciples followed immediately. Wuxia looked over and frowned slightly. He turned on the Universe AI and searched for the bounty from the 100 Cities Alliance. The bounty from the 100 Cities Alliance was not a bounty to deal with the ancestral dragon bloodline. Instead, it was a bounty issued by someone else, and it appeared in the mission hall of the 100 Cities Alliance. Under normal circumstances, the 100 Cities Alliance would not do something like this, especially when it was a powerful force like the ancestral dragon bloodline. However, there were many reasons for the bounty to appear in the 100 Cities Alliance. The force that issued the bounty did not hide anything. The sacred dragon bloodline, the ancestral dragon bloodline, and the sacred dragon bloodline were the strongest divine dragon bloodline in Chaotic Continent. One of them was extremely powerful, and was only a step away from the Universe Lord realm. The other was equally powerful, and had become a subsidiary race of the angel race. The clash between these two races would definitely be terrifying. The sacred dragon bloodline and the ancestral dragon bloodline are actually fighting? What's the reason? Why did the 100 Cities Alliance agree to the sacred dragon bloodline's bounty? Is it because of the benefits, or because of the angel race? Wuxia's eyes flickered as he read the message. This was a big deal. Wuxia hesitated for a moment before flying to the front of the Green Dragon Lunar Cave. Wuxia is here to pay a visit. He shouted directly at the door. Brother Wuxia, please enter. Azure Dragon Moon's voice rang out. He flew in and saw Azure Dragon Moon sitting in the center of the hall. There were hundreds of figures in the surroundings. When Xiaochen looked around, he saw that they were all divine dragon bloodlines. Clearly, they were disciples of the ancestor dragon bloodline. It seemed that more than 1 or 2 disciples of the ancestral dragon's lineage had come to seek refuge with him during this period. Brother Qing Longyue, sorry to disturb you. Wuxia cupped his fists at him. Please take a seat, Brother Wuxia. The Azure Dragon Moon gestured to him. Brother Azure Dragon Moon, I won't beat around the bush. What happened between the ancestral dragon and the sacred dragon bloodline? What's with the 100 Cities Alliance? Wuxia sat down and asked directly. That damned sacred dragon bloodline. The Azure Dragon Moon was enraged. Based on the news I received, the sacred dragon god had a conflict with our leader. Our leader killed the eldest son of the sacred dragon god. Now they are taking revenge on us. As for the 100 Cities Alliance, I don't know the exact situation. Perhaps the angel tribe has pressured them, or perhaps the sacred dragon bloodline has reached an agreement with them. Up till now, 1 million disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline have been killed. He spoke slowly and clenched his fists. Then, what did the ancestral dragon lord say? Wuxia asked with a surprised look. This might also involve the angel tribe. A month ago, our leader sent out a message. One can only reach the pinnacle in the face of adversity. Either we rise from the ashes, or we suffer annihilation. Our leader did not divulge any more details. The ancestral dragon bloodline had been separated for tens of millions of years. Therefore, he did not know much. Did any experts from the 100 Cities Alliance attack the disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline? As Wuxia spoke, he looked at the disciples of the ancestral dragon lineage around him. Not yet, but it's hard to say in the future. However, the 100 Cities Alliance has also made a statement that they are only issuing this bounty, and this bounty has nothing to do with the 100 Cities Alliance. If any city forces participate, it has nothing to do with them, and they will not participate. Azure Dragon Moon shook his head. What the 100 Cities Alliance meant was that they would only provide this bounty platform, and would not participate in it. The 100 Cities Alliance's cities participating were their own actions, and had nothing to do with the alliance. The Alliance would not pay for the actions of this city or help them. You can only reach the pinnacle in the face of adversity. The ancestral dragon chief is really bold. Brother Azure Dragon, if you need any help in the future, you can look for me. In this battle, I will stand on your side. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. Now the disciples of Dragon Palace had begun to move around in the primitive continent. They were people with the divine dragon bloodline, so they would definitely be recognized as disciples of the ancestral dragon's bloodline. This was a war. They would be dragged into this as well. However, Wang Xian did not mind. If the ancestral dragon and the sacred dragon bloodline were to fight, he would not hesitate to stand on the side of the ancestral dragon bloodline. A divine dragon bloodline that had submitted to another race had lost the dignity of the divine dragon. They were traitors of the divine dragon bloodline. They could live, but they could not be lackeys. They had to have a bottom line. Moreover, the war between the sacred dragon bloodline and the ancestral dragon bloodline would not be easy. The disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline were scattered and could not fight. The sacred dragon bloodline could only use this method to hunt down the members of the ancestral dragon bloodline. Perhaps the ancestral dragon chief was waiting for the disciples of the sacred dragon bloodline to assassinate them. It was hard to say. If they really fought, it would take millions of years to finish. The Dragon Palace could also train by mixing in with them. The combined strength of the Dragon Palace was equivalent to the strength of 2 to 3 cities in the 100 Cities Alliance. Even if they joined in, they would not change much. Thank you, Brother Wang Xian. Azure Dragon Moon stood up and thanked him. You're welcome. Be careful, Brother Azure Dragon Moon. Look for me if you need anything. Wang Xian cupped his fists and left. Around them, the disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline looked at Wang Xian in shock. Go and contact them. If there are any disciples who can't find a safe place, they can come to the Eternal River. Azure Dragon Moon looked at the disciples and said in a deep voice. Yes, sir. The disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline answered respectfully. Chapter 34. The situation of the ancestral dragon disciples doesn't look optimistic. Wang Xian returned to his cave abode and checked the various messages on the universe AI while mumbling to himself. As the sacred dragon bloodline was backed by the Angel clan, they were able to issue bounties in the 100 Cities Alliance. Once the bounty was announced, people would be tempted to kill the ancestral dragon's disciples in exchange for the bounty. This was extremely dangerous for the disciples of the ancestral dragon. But the situation is not out of control yet. Wang Xian mumbled to himself as he cultivated in the cave abode. Dragon King, the atmosphere outside doesn't seem right. 2 months later, Enlai delivered a Tier 3 water lotus and suddenly said to Wang Xian, something was wrong. What's wrong? Wang Xian was slightly taken aback. The atmosphere is a little tense, and the number of people in the surroundings has clearly decreased. Everyone outside is talking about the 100 Cities Alliance and the ancestral dragon's bloodline. Enlai said. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. He switched on the universe AI and continued to search for information. When he saw the content, he raised his eyebrows slightly. In the 100 Cities Alliance, experts from 2 cities besieged an expert from the ancestral dragon bloodline and killed him. Why did they attack the experts of the ancestral dragon's bloodline? The overall strength of the ancestral dragon bloodline is much stronger than the entire 100 Cities Alliance. Aren't they afraid of retaliation for attacking the experts of the ancestral dragon bloodline? Wang Xian was deeply puzzled. The ancestral dragon bloodline was not weak, and their leader was known as the strongest person under the universe ruler. The strength of the 100 Cities Alliance could not withstand the revenge of the ancestral dragon's bloodline, let alone just 2 cities. Is there any inside story or what? Wang Xian frowned. With a swift move he flew out. There were obviously fewer people outside, but there were many disciples of the ancestral dragon's bloodline around. Clearly, some of the disciples were here to seek refuge with Azure Dragon Moon. Wang Xian squinted his eyes as he leaned against the side of the cave abode and watched quietly. Perhaps because there were more disciples of the ancestral dragon's lineage here, the atmosphere was slightly tense. Not long ago, experts from the 100 Cities Alliance had surrounded and killed a First-Order sovereign from the ancestral dragon bloodline. No one knew if they would attack the Azure Dragon Moon. Everyone knew that the ancestral dragon lineage had an Azure Dragon here. Wang Xian was deep in thought. Could it be that the angel race was involved? Otherwise, how could any city in the 100 Cities Alliance dare to participate? Wang Xian shook his head and entered the cave abode. He took a look at the water lotus on the ancestral tree and smiled. There were a total of 4 ninth-grade water lotuses. However, other than the area where the water from the sky fell, Enlai had basically searched all the other areas. Boom boom boom. You're courting death. Half a month later, a roar suddenly sounded, accompanied by a dragon's roar. As soon as Wang Xian heard the voice, he flew out of the room immediately. Sky Formation, Water Dragon Leader, come out! At the same time he lightly shouted, and 2 figures immediately followed behind him. After Shui Linglong's father broke through, he came over. Wang Xian flew out of the cave abode and looked outside. Outside, the 4 of them wore masks of light on their heads. The masks emitted light, completely concealing their figures. The 4 of them surrounded Azure Dragon Moon in the center. Azure Dragon Moon transformed into his human form and looked coldly at the 4 people around him. You are from the 100 Cities Alliance? Which city are you from? Do you know that you're digging your own grave? Azure Dragon Moon stared at them with a violent look on his face. We're not from the 100 Cities Alliance. Hee Azure Dragon Moon, you don't have to threaten us. The ancestral dragon bloodline is doomed. Today will be the day you die. One of the 4 said eerily. Haha. Do you think you can kill me with just the 4 of you? Azure Dragon Moon laughed heartily. He swayed his dragon body, and the wood attribute energy swept across the surroundings. Everyone, large-scale battles are prohibited in the Lotus Peak. Please go to the sky. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude. Azure Dragon Moon, you know the rules here. At this time, the cave masters appeared one after another in the cave abode. Out of the 12 cave masters, 6 city lords walked out. They gave a faint warning. We know the rules. Hee Azure Dragon Moon, I've locked onto you. Even if you escape to your own holy kingdom, we'll be able to find you quickly. Surrender and prepare to die. An old voice said faintly. It was obvious that they had come prepared. Azure Dragon Moon's cold eyes swept across the area below. There were thousands of divine dragon bloodline disciples below. Among you, there are disciples of the sacred dragon bloodline. There are traitors, he said coldly. Given Azure Dragon Moon's strength, it was impossible for him not to do something when the ancestral dragon bloodline was in such a situation. For example, if there were experts coming, he could lead the disciples away. Now that the other party had suddenly charged over, not only did he not notice it, but even the array he had set up in the cave abode temporarily lost its effect. Therefore, there were people from the sacred dragon bloodline among them. Who did this? Damn it, there's a traitor among us. The thousands of disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline looked at each other. All of them looked exceptionally embarrassed. Wang Xian looked over and frowned. There were pros and cons to the disbandment of the ancestral dragon bloodline. After tens of millions of years, some members were still loyal to their leader and the ancestral dragon bloodline. However, some might have been subdued by the sacred dragon bloodline and were hiding among the crowd. It seems like the war between the ancestral dragon and the sacred dragon bloodline has been planned for a long time. Wang Xian thought to himself. The teleportation formation wasn't the only problem with Azure Dragon Moon. His aura might have been locked on by the other party. There were grand sorcerers among the other party. Come on up, Azure Dragon Moon. You can't escape. The masked man flew into the sky and taunted Azure Dragon Moon. Ha ha ha, I'm not saying this, but if you guys want to kill me, at least 2 or 3 of you will die. Azure Dragon Moon roared and flew into the sky. The other 3 masked figures around him immediately launched an attack. The other party had come prepared for the hunting war. They would not show any mercy. Dragon King Tianjin looked at the battle that broke out in the sky and transmitted his voice to Wang Xian. Go and get ready. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he ordered. Swish. At this moment, Wang Xian sensed a figure moving. The figure charged towards the group of ancestral dragon bloodline disciples in front of Azure Dragon Cave abode. Huh? Wang Xian was stunned when he saw the figure who suddenly attacked. Chapter 34-35. A snow-white figure charged towards the thousands of disciples below the ancestral dragon's bloodline. He was enveloped in water, and looked like a puddle of special water as he ran. He did not have a physical form and looked extremely creepy. This was a special living being. Wang Xian squinted his eyes as they glistened. There were experts who wanted to attack the ancestral dragon bloodline. It seemed that they had come prepared this time. If Wang Xian was not wrong, this figure was the Water Master Cave Master. Qing Longyue had warned him not to challenge the Eternal Heaven Cave Master, the Ice Emperor Cave Master, and the Water Master Cave Master. For Qing Longyue to say such a thing, it was a recognition of their strength. Isn't it a little shameless for a universe dominator to ambush a group of universe supremacies? Wang Xian moved at this moment. If he did not make a move, the 1,000 disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline would all die. The water that was charging towards the disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline paused for a moment. Looking at Wang Xian who had suddenly appeared in front of him, he narrowed his eyes. So you still interfered. A new expert of the ancestral dragon bloodline? The Water Master Cave Master did not seem too surprised by Wang Xian's action. From the battle between Wang Xian and the female demon, all the experts could tell that he was also an expert of the divine dragon bloodline. In addition, Wang Xian had entered Qing Longyue's cave abode twice, which was witnessed by everyone. They already had some guesses and were on guard against Wang Xian. I'm not from the ancestral dragon bloodline, but I'm very unhappy with the lackeys of the divine dragon bloodline. Wang Xian shook his head slightly as he spoke plainly. Since you're from the ancestral dragon bloodline, I don't care if you're a disciple of the ancestral dragon bloodline. You have to die. Killing you is much more worthwhile than killing 1,000 disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline. I'm going to exchange your body for treasures. Whoosh. After finishing his sentence, he moved instantly. The water was his body, allowing him to transform at will. He took the form of a water divine dragon, and reached out with his dragon claws. What? This Water Master Cave Master, one of the 12 Cave Masters, also wants to become enemies with our ancestral dragon bloodline? Fortunately, Lord Wang Xian intervened. Otherwise, we would be finished. Damn it, there's a traitor among us, and there are experts who want to kill us. They definitely came prepared. In front of the Green Dragon Moon Cave abode, a group of ancestral dragons' disciples looked at the scene with extremely ugly expressions. Just now, the Water Master Cave Master's attack made them feel the arrival of death. Fortunately, a lord suddenly popped out. Otherwise, they would not be able to escape this calamity. How dare you be so arrogant with a fake divine dragon body? Wang Xian stared coldly at the transformation of the water mage. Boom. His body shook, and clouds and mist appeared around him. Go fight in the sky immediately. Around them, the group of cave masters saw the situation over here, and their expressions turned slightly ugly as they warned coldly. Walala. Whoosh. The water mage and Wang Xian did not violate the rules here. They were also afraid of disturbing that terrifying giant star beast. The clouds and mist shrouded the water mage completely. However, he didn't seem to be able to see with his eyes as he attacked Wang Xian directly. I'm going to annihilate you today. The water mage revealed a strong sense of confidence. He roared. Use your body as an array formation. Not a single drop of water can leak through. Clearly, he was very confident in his own strength. His body shook, and the water droplets formed a line, scattering around him. These water droplets formed an array in the void. Under this array, one could only return to his own holy kingdom in an instant after breaking the array. Very good. I like your confidence. Wang Xian chuckled. Within his body, chains extended towards the surroundings in a frenzy and sealed off a portion of the void. Thank you, Brother Wang Xian, for your help. Be careful, this water mage's attack is very unpredictable. At this time, Green Dragon Moon's anxious voice came from afar. Wang Xian swept his gaze across. Green Dragon Moon was completely suppressed under the siege of 4 First-Order Universe sovereigns. However, he was a wood-attributed divine dragon, and his strongest attribute was his recovery ability. They would need at least some time to kill Green Dragon Moon. However, Green Dragon Moon had been locked down. Even if he tried to escape, he would be pursued. To them, Green Dragon Moon was dead for sure. However, it would take some time. Don't worry. Wang Xian smiled faintly. Previously, when he killed Cave Master Demonis, he had only used 1/5 of his strength. This time he wouldn't hold back. The unbeginning saint wings flapped violently, and he disappeared instantly. Ha! That's fast. However, I can sense everything about you. The Water Mage Cave Master sensed Wang Xian's speed, and his expression changed slightly. When Wang Xian appeared, a bubble appeared in front of him. It wrapped around him. Such fast reflexes. He can even track where I'm flying. Wang Xian was taken aback, but he wasn't bothered. With a wave of his arm, the 5 elements grindstone attacked the Water Mage Cave Master. Boom! The 5 elements grindstone attacked, and the 5 elements began to revolve. The entire 5 elements grindstone turned red. An incomparably horrifying flame. Suddenly it exploded, as though the entire sky was covered in flames. Ka. What? The sudden appearance of the 5 elements grindstone and the sudden burst of power caught the Water Mage Cave Master off guard. Cracks also appeared on the impenetrable array that sealed the void around him. Wang Xian's eyes were cold. In a flash, his arm turned into a flaming dragon claw. Boom! The appearance of the flame seemed to have caused the Water Mage Cave Master to lose his strong senses. Wang Xian appeared at his side and blasted at the water dragon body that he had transformed into. Arg! A blood-curdling scream came from the mouth of the Water Mage Grotto Master, as lotus petals slowly appeared around him. Each petal had an incomparably strong defense. Ha! This is the water lotus. No, he must have consumed the water lotus and comprehended the powerful law of defense. Wang Xian focused his gaze and his eyes flickered. However, you still have to die. Wang Xian waved his arm, and 4 Tier 9 water lotus appeared around him, pressing down on him. What? How is this possible? When the Water Mage Cave Master saw the 4 Tier 9 water lotus, he was dumbfounded and was filled with disbelief. How did he get 4 Tier 9 water lotus? He had stayed in the Eternal River for more than 1 billion years before he obtained a Tier 9 water lotus. He had consumed it and comprehended the powerful law of defense. This guy who had just arrived not long ago had a total of 4. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.